This is Scott Spears, and today we remember the First Lady of Comedy, Phyllis Diller, who has passed away at age 95. Phyllis was a groundbreaker in the world of stand-up comedy. With her fright wigs and raucous laugh, she was an American treasure. She had guested on this program over 20 times in the last 10 years. She did her last public interview on this program with me 1 month ago. Joining us to remember her is a fellow Lima, Ohioite, and another person who's been on this program quite a few times, the newsman's newsman, a good pal, Hugh Downs. Hugh, how are you?
Very good. Hope you are too.
Yeah. Not a great occasion this morning. Phyllis Diller passing away.
I think that's a terrific loss, a personal loss for me and you, and a loss of a tremendous talent. She really was good at what she did.
What was it about Phyllis Diller? I've talked about two people about this in the last day. In show business, everybody has a type. There was never a Phyllis Diller type. There was just Phyllis Diller.
Yeah, I think you're right. Her technique was unique in its own way. Cause other people tried to be funny, but she just was genuinely funny and had a great sense of humor. I remember so much about when Ruth and I were in her home a few times when we used to get to the West Coast and everything. She had a home, and one of the bedrooms in the home was used as a closet because her closet space wasn't big enough for all the stuff that she had. And she had another favorite one of mine was one of my favorite pictures of her was when she did it became the cover of a vinyl record that she made called Wet Toe in a Hot Socket. You may remember that one. She's got her toe in an open wall socket, and then her hair is streaming out with lightning coming out of it. When I think of Phyllis, I often think of that picture particularly.
What is it about people from the Midwest? Jack Parr, you worked with him, and that's where Phyllis got her start. Were you there the night Phyllis came out?
The night she came out, what? First time on the Tonight Show?
Yeah.
Sure.
What was that like?
Oh, well, it was very, very raucous and very, very funny. I think he appreciated it. This is more or less after Bob Hope had really discovered her to nationalize and internationalize her talent. I don't remember the date of that, but I remember when she came on. Do you remember what year that was?
I believe that was the early '60s.
Yeah, that would have been right.
Yeah. Now, what did Jack Parr think of her? She said she owed a lot of her success to Jack Parr.
Well, she did. Many people did because Jack was kind of odd, and he had a desire that the people who came on were successful. He wasn't jealous of their success. He was kind of proud of it if he put them on. That goes for Woody Allen and many others that were on his show. So he thought a lot of her, and I'm sure he enjoyed having her on too.
Back to the original question: what is it about people from the Midwest?
I don't know. When you think Johnny Winters came from there too, and not merely people who could be comedic, but a lot of good news people came out of the Midwest. That's why I always wondered about why they had the critics had the what they called the East Coast elite news people, and there aren't any, because when you stop and think, Walter Cronkite was from I think Texas, Frank McGee was from Oklahoma, everybody was from the Midwest. John Chancellor was from Ohio, and there wasn't any Eastern establishment news thing. It all came out of the Midwest, and I think that goes for comedy too. When you think of the people who were comedians at the time, and of course Phyllis was unique in her talent, and obviously very much Ohio.
Now, did you ever run into Phyllis when you both were in Ohio?
Yes, as a matter of fact, when she was at Bluffton College. She was 2 years ahead of me, although she was 3 years older than I am. And the reason was I graduated from high school when my colleagues were all I graduated a year before they did, and therefore it was about a 3-year difference in age, and that pans out because I'll be 92 in a short time, and Phyllis made it to 95. But she was in Bluffton College at the time, about 2 years ahead of me, and I got to know her then, even though she was an upper class type, and even then she was hilarious because she could be serious, but she had some kind of a line that would make you smile at least, and sometimes fall off your chair laughing.
You know, you are about to hit 92. Phyllis made it to 95.
Yeah.
What's the secret to this long life?
I don't know, but one of them might be a question of attitude. If you see things in a tolerant and helpful way, you're more likely to be able to exude humor of some kind. Because people who are cramped and really see things only see the optimist that sees the glass as half empty instead of half full. The pessimist sees it as half empty instead of half full. And if you've got that kind of an attitude, I don't think you've got room for humor, anybody else's or your own. And so I think it takes a kind of a security, which obviously Phyllis had, to be able to see humor in everything, including yourself. And that was the basis of her comedic terrific talent, was the fact that she had no vanity, and she just would laugh at herself as well as many other things.
Absolutely. You know, she was a first in so many areas, first person to come out publicly for plastic surgery in 1972, first female stand-up comedian really to go out there and just tell jokes. Where do you think that courage came from, and what is her place as being in Americana? What is her place?
Well, again, I don't know if I could describe her place because she's unique. I don't think she has a place in some strata or some hierarchy of. She is unique and really at the top of what she did. But again, I hark back to the sense of security that she must have had in order to do many things. First of all, in order to have that kind of humor about herself and many other things, and second, she was genuinely helpful. Nothing she did was based on bitterness. There are comics who do it with a kind of a hostile way. They kind of have to use their comedic efforts as an outlet for anger that they have, and that's not the kind of thing that Phyllis exhibited at all. She had a lot of security that allowed her to develop that kind of talent.
Did you ever interview her?
Oh, I probably did several times. I think she was on the Today Show. I know she was on the Today Show. It must have been about 1960 or 61, because I left. No, it wouldn't have been then. Today, I took over in 62, so maybe I interviewed her on the. I remember interviewing her once when Parr was away, and I substituted for him on the Tonight Show, and that was a delight. I really enjoyed the time I had with her then. I wish I remembered exactly what we talked about. We talked about Ohio, obviously.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did you ever run into her in later years?
Yeah, I did, both in broadcasting and sometimes when we were on the West Coast, because she was a friend, we got a chance to visit her at her place, and we made frequent visits to the West Coast. I don't go there that often now, but and I haven't seen her in recent years either. I was really amazed and not only shocked but grieved that we had lost her, because she just seemed to be. And I had no evidence that she had bad health, even though she'd had a bad heart attack. When was that? 91 or
believe 99 is when she had the heart attack.
Oh, 99, that's right. Yeah, that was just before the turn of the century. So she was one of those people who could survive some horrendous blows, but she was very tough and very secure and basically probably very healthy.
You know, the reports came out yesterday when she passed you that she was found by her son with a smile on her face.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, that's quite possible. I don't think she would have been afraid of anything, but if it finally caught up with, nobody's immortal, and it finally, if you make it to 95, you've logged a lot of decades, and that's worthwhile.
You know, the final question here is a question I've been asking myself, and I find it hard to answer for some reason or another, and I knew Phyllis pretty well from the time she guested on this program, but how is she going to be remembered because she was so multifaceted?
Yeah, well, she's going to be remembered both for her uniqueness, I think, and for her lack of bitterness, and for her incredible ability to see the humorous side of almost any kind of thing or situation or person that comes into view, and she could do that better than anyone. And as I'm saying, she will be remembered for her sense of security, her lack of bitterness, and her towering talent.
You know, in a world of reality television, I get the feeling that we're never going to see her like again.
I think that's probably true, because that being unique, something that's unique isn't replaced by something that's more unique. You know what I mean? And so I think she's got a niche there that's going to be forever remembered for those characteristics that she developed or displayed.
Even her name, Phyllis Diller. You know, that's different in and of itself.
You know, her maiden name was Phyllis Driver.
Yeah.
And she married a guy named Diller. Now, I never met him for some reason or other, because by the time we were Ruth and I would frequently visit her out. They were not married.
You know, I'm going to mention this. I think it's good to end with a joke and a tribute to Phyllis Diller. The favorite joke that she ever told, and I told her this a lot of times, was a husband joke, a Fang joke. She said that one time they had asked Fang to be a Jehovah's Witness, and he said he couldn't because he didn't see the accident.
That is a funny joke.
And I love that joke.
I never heard that from her, but I think that's terrific.
I would always pass that to her. Hugh Downs, the consummate professional. Always good to catch up with you, Hugh.
Same here, Scott. Thank you for including me.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.